Live from Wrestling 911 headquarters, I'm the Doctor of Desire. No, we're going to talk about the Doctor of Desire. I'm Snowman Jones, the Doctor from Detroit. Okay, we've got great things going on, and today's special episode is going to cover the world of Florida wrestling. As you know, Wrestling911.com has a huge forum that covers Florida wrestling, so this is a special episode. We're going to return to reviews of WWE wrestlers in a future week, probably next week. But this week, we're going to talk to you about what's going on in Florida, all the big happenings, because there's just a lot going on, and I feel it's important. First off, the Doctor of Desire, Tom Prichard, has a seminar. That's where he ties in. That's right, Wrestling for a Cause has Tom Prichard coming in to Tampa, Florida, the 22nd of September, so just 3 short weeks away. You're going to have the Doctor of Desire in. Now, for those of you who don't know much about Dr. Tom Prichard, he's been wrestling since 1979, started his career in LA, working with Gene and Mike LaBelle's Los Angeles Olympic Auditorium wrestling promotion. Really an interesting superstar. Kicked off, really started becoming a bigger name in Continental Wrestling Association and USWA. Folks, if you don't know what USWA is and Smoky Mountain Wrestling, they were the original training organizations for the WWE back in the day, back in the 80s and whatnot, and early 90s. They were the FCW or NXT of their era. Now, I started watching Dr. Tom Prichard as the Heavenly Bodies. Stan Lane and Tom Prichard were the Heavenly Bodies, joining Smoky Mountain Wrestling in '92. In April, they defeated the Fantastics to become SMW, Smoky Mountain Wrestling's tag team champions. Now, why is Dr. Tom Prichard and his seminar so important today? Well, I'll tell you what. He was a trainer at Deep South Pro Wrestling, which again was a developmental company for the WWE. He replaced Bill DeMott. You know, Hugh Morris, the guy who's been on all the Tough Enough shows, etc., etc., etc. He did that for a while, and then he moved on to Florida Championship Wrestling, and he was in Florida Championship Wrestling from 2007 till very recently, May 30th, 2012, where he was released by the WWE, ironically replaced by guess who? Hugh Morris, Bill DeMott. Crash the Terminator is when I remember Bill DeMott in his rookie year, or darn near close to his rookie year. So anyway, here's the story. You got Dr. Tom Prichard coming to Tampa. Dr. Tom Prichard, who was a trainer with the WWE for the last 5 years, who knows all the names and faces, and frankly, if he picked up a phone and said, hey, you need to take a look at this guy, he's pretty sharp, you know that Tom Prichard is going to have some pull in the WWE, because everyone still likes him, everyone still knows him. So if you're an aspiring wrestler and you want essentially your tryout with the WWE, go to the seminar on the 22nd in Tampa, Florida. It's on Bush Boulevard. Go to Wrestling 911. They've got a banner for it at the top. Click through to the banner, check out their Facebook page, email them, because if you really want to break into the WWE, talk to Tom Prichard, pay the $50 or whatever it is to have a seminar with him, and frankly, just mark out and pay the $50 just to meet the guy, learn from him, find out what it takes to become a big-time pro wrestler. Okay, so again, that's September 22nd. That's what's going on there. Now, a lot of other things going on in wrestling today, particularly in Florida wrestling, which is, again, what this episode is going to cover. You've got Fall Out Brawl by Vintage Wrestling on September 8th. Vintage Wrestling, I'm not sure if it's kayfabe or not, but they've got tremendous interest by Don Maximo as one of their, we'll say, investors or one of the people involved. But regardless, Don Maximo, a bigwig in that company. I think Sean Solo, obviously, is the owner. I'm not sure exactly what Don Maximo's holdings are, but I think he does have some interest there. Sean Solo, clearly in front of the camera, certainly the owner. Big card coming up. Francisco Chiazzo versus Sebastian Crane. That's a big match. Simon Says and Eric Cooper for the Vintage TV title match. Those guys have been going back and forth for 2 or 3 years. Kind of the Ric Flair versus Sting, where you can go to any promotion in Florida and always see those guys in a match, tagging together against each other, whatever it is. You've got Beast Mode. That's the tag team championship match of Don Maximo and Biff Slater versus Los Bendejos. I didn't know they were still using the Los Bendejos moniker. I thought they were Team Lucha, but Cruz and Jay Rios, is that correct? Marty Khan and Bendejo, if you will. Those guys have been in TNA. They've done great things. In fact, in the poster, you can see they're in a TNA ring in front of the Spike TV background banner. You got Shooter Storm versus Milo Beasley. That should be a good match. Shooter Storm really getting into great shape lately. We featured him in some posters. And Aaron Epic versus Tommy Taylor. Tommy Taylor, a guy that a lot of people cringed when they heard that he retired, but he's back and wrestling limited schedule, but he's still wrestling. Of course, Aaron Epic just has a tremendous schedule, been wrestling a lot. It's always great to see him. He's really improved over the last few years. And really, probably, what I would argue is going to be the hardest hitting match of the night, and frankly, worthy of being the main event, CJ O'Doyle versus Corey Chavis. I think this match maybe hasn't got enough television publicity, enough media coverage, whatever you want to call it. I haven't heard many people talking about CJ O'Doyle versus Corey Chavis. CJ, I remember him in Propane Pro Wrestling, an organization run by Blue Meanie and Jasmine St. Clair, adult film star Jasmine St. Clair. Corey Chavis, obviously you know him from his Ring of Honor and NWA Tag Team Champion days as part of the Dark City Fight Club. So those guys, they've been around the world. They've done a lot of great things. It's going to be exciting to see those guys in the ring together at Vintage Wrestling's Fallout Brawl. So anyway, folks, make sure you check that out. That's coming up next week, September 8th. Fallout Brawl is going to be a huge event. Snowman Jones gives it his seal of approval. Then, of course, you have PWX coming at the end of September on the 29th. Pro Wrestling Extreme. I did the poster for their show, so I got to say I like them. But they're having Steve Corino versus Al Snow with Head. So he's got an advantage that he's got a manager. Brutus Beefcake versus Simon Says. Although they are advertising Outlaw Ron Bass, I have heard some insiders tell me that they may replace Outlaw Ron Bass, which is fine. Outlaw Ron Bass is a great guy. I remember watching him in his WWF, World Wrestling Federation days in the mid-'80s. Younger kids probably don't remember the Outlaw, but Outlaw Ron Bass probably dates back to the 60s or 70s. He's been wrestling forever. Cool guy, but I've heard that they may be replacing him, and I'm not going to say with who, but I can say that they're definitely TNA's in town that week, and there are some TNA names being floated that will show up on the card. You know, anytime that Masked Maniac is involved in a card, anytime that the other guy, Frank Goodman, is involved in a wrestling promotion, there's going to be some names. You've got Lince Dorado, you've got Rocky Santiago, you've got Kirby Mack, Colby Corino versus Derek Rise, Shooter Storm, the U.S. champion, again, he's going to be there, and you got Z-Bar versus Dagon of the Dead. And frankly, I don't know a lot about Dagon of the Dead unless that's Dagon Briggs. Looking through the thread here to see if it gives us any clue. I think some people may have already asked that question. Okay, so great card coming up. Real exciting. They're talking about what matches would people like to see. So go on Wrestling 911. Tell them who you want to see, whether it's WWE Sunny or if it's I don't know, Titan. Let the Masked Maniac know who you want to see on that event. He may just make that damn thing happen. Okay, then also we have a contest going on so you can get the most likes on Facebook, and whoever gets the most likes is going to officially be the magazine cover for Wrestling 911 magazine, which may or may not hit newsstands. It may not, but anyway, it's a fun little contest. We've got some cool covers. And tell us who you like to see. Like them on Facebook. Remember, Wrestling911.com's Facebook page is facebook.com/Wrestling911. It's not too hard to remember. In most cases, folks, if you go to a Twitter, you go to a Facebook, you go to anything, you go to YouTube, try the 911 Wrestling, try the Wrestling 911, you're likely to get one of those two to work, and you'll find our page. Our Twitter is twitter.com/Wrestling911com, and then YouTube is YouTube/911 Wrestling. Also check out MarcusPitt.com. You know, when Mark Meister passed away, he had asked us to try to keep the website going. We've done so for several years now, still getting thousands of views a day. It's more popular than almost ever. I mean, it's done very well even without the great Marcus Pitt, and it's our way of committing to the memory of a guy who loved wrestling. For those of you who don't know, Marcus Pitt he worked with Kevin Sullivan back in the 70s or 80s. He worked at Southern Championship Wrestling. He worked with Vintage Wrestling. He was a great fan and promoter of indie wrestling. He was a political aficionado in DeBary, Florida. And Marcus Pitt, Mark Meister, great guy, and we keep the site going. We keep paying for the domain name so we can see more Mark Meister. Okay, folks, I guess we have just enough time to cover one more topic. I think we should probably go with, FOW's Old School Wrestling, September 22nd, 2012. That's right, only 3 short weeks away, the same night as the Tom Prichard seminar. Advertised by Max Stardom. Max is a great talent we don't see enough of in Central Florida. First time ever, we're going to see Max Stardom versus Jesse Neal. So a huge size advantage to Jesse Neal. That's going to be a great match. Max Stardom's a fun guy to watch in the ring. See Tommy Vandal versus Aaron Agony. Sean Allen and the Beast with Snake Master versus JoJo and Daryl Drexel. Frankly, I've never met Snake Master. Probably a great guy. I know a lot of people that like him. I don't like anyone who brings any kind of animal or anything to the ring. I'm kind of an animal rights person, so I don't like to see people dragging animals around, force them to do goofy stuff. Not my favorite thing, but I'm sure he's a great wrestler, and I'm sure he's absolutely worth watching, so check that out. You got a Battle Royal on the card. You got a Tag Team Championship match, all sorts of good things. So this is in Deerfield Beach, so Southern Florida, Indoor Sports Center, Saturday, September 22nd, 2012. Folks, again, I'm Snowman Jones. Lots going on in Florida wrestling. This is your Florida wrestling update. 911 Audio. We'll call it the podcast. I'm out of here. Check us back every week. Check our YouTube channel. See you later, folks.